That one was special. That's how I'm starting off this show. That was a special game on the weekend for LAFC, and there's no two ways about it. I know the streak is over. The shutout streak is done. We don't care about that. Reset that. Mario Ruiz, what a great win for LAFC, though. 3-1 in Orlando, coming across the country. Another road trip, another road victory.
Yes. You know what's impressive, Dave? Is 3 straight road wins for LAFC. That's huge. When you start talking about being a supporter shield, chances, and trying to be in that race for the supporter shield, winning on the road is something that has to happen in order to be in that hunt for that supporter shield. And these last 2 road wins, the last 2, very difficult, long road trips, right?
Yeah.
On turf in Atlanta a few weeks ago, far road trip, and then another long road trip in that terrible humidity in Orlando this last match. I think we are very much in the middle of something special for LAFC right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Welcome. This is episode 18 of LAFC Plus. He is Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. We are part of the English language radio broadcast for LAFC. The plus, of course, is the rest of MLS. We'll get to that in a moment. But Mario, I will say this. Speaking of the rest of MLS, let's start with Orlando a little bit in this match. LAFC go into Orlando, team that's struggling, 1 win at home. I mean, this is a team that had over 60 points last season, almost won the Supporter Shield themselves, were it not for a truly great FC Cincinnati season. I mean, I thought, people are going to disagree, I really thought that Orlando, much like Atlanta a few weeks ago when they were struggling, they gave us the best, just about the best game they played in a long time. Now you can say, well, maybe LAFC is not that great, Denholm. No, these teams are up for LAFC. This is a playoff match for most teams that want to take on LAFC, right? Nashville got run over by us earlier. Maybe they weren't ready for that. But most of the time, we're getting about the best performance out of the opposition as you can get. And they've won 6 straight in MLS, LAFC.
Yeah, well, they're getting the best from us too, though, right? I mean, we have a strong defense, one of the best defenses in the entire league, and then we put up 3 goals. That's hard to beat for anybody. I don't care.
Was that the best performance, though?
No, not the best performance, but you get 3 goals, and you have a strong defense. Not even at your best performance. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect, but they grind it out and they win it. It's hard to beat a team that's not at their best, doesn't play their best game, but they still put up 3 goals. And you can't even penetrate their defense. How are you going to beat that?
Well, it's a good point you bring up. That's why I said this one was special to me right off the top, because it wasn't the best performance necessarily. They were up 1-0 on the road. You're trying to kind of play a little more defensive. And Orlando's really taking it to you for a lot of that second half. After it's 1-1, then it felt like, oh boy, this could slip away. It could slip away. Let's be honest. I don't want to be, I don't care. I'll tell the truth here. There were some previous years with LAFC that we probably would have lost that match up 1-0 in the second half. And then to allow Orlando to play the way they are or were, get a goal. And it was a beautiful goal for Orlando. You can't take anything away from that. So it wasn't like LAFC failed or something, defensive. It was a great goal. Now they could have done better, but there's been years previous LAFC would have lost that game. I'm just saying it. And it's not something we want to brag about or anything. We're not trying to rip on another team or another season. LAFC have been tremendous since they kicked the ball in 2018, but this is a different kind of team right now. To come back the way that was special. To win, as you said, great goals at the end and absorb a lot from Orlando. They were feeling good about themselves once they tied it, got that monkey off their back a little bit in that game, and they kind of felt it. It felt like they felt they were going to win, Orlando. And then LAFC just put the hammer down. Mario just
sometimes beautiful. When you're on a streak, though, you need bounces to go your way. You need balls to go your way. And if this goal right here, if this chance right here goes in for Orlando, then things could have changed right here. This Torres PK. Here's your call on the Torres PK going up against Hugo Lloris. Listen to this.
So Hugo Lloris has stopped 1 out of 2 so far. Here comes Torres. The shot. It's over the bar. He missed it. He skied it. Ball don't lie, Facundo. Try not diving, young man. 34th minute, still 0-0.
And I say that because Dave. I thought he was looking for the penalty on the play. I mean, that happens, I'm not taking anything away. Facundo Torres is a good player. I thought he was kind of looking for the contact a little bit more than trying to make a play. Gets the call. And then ball don't lie. I mean, it's true.
Ball
like,
don't lie, Facundo!
I love it, Davey. Ball don't lie, Facundo.
That's right. How was your weekend, buddy? After that, I mean, Father's Day. Hope you had a great Father's Day as we get back into this.
Father's Day was amazing. We were in Temecula again for another soccer tournament for my son. He got me the gift of scoring me a goal, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
And then I got some cool gifts. I got some cards from family members. I got this thoughtful gift right here. If you can check it out. This one right here. It's a little cover for my driver.
Whoa, a little cover. It's bigger than your head.
I know, right? It has pictures of me and my son right here, and
nice.
It says "Best Dad by Par."
Oh, very good, very good.
How was yours, Davey?
Which is funny because you've never had a par in your life. Anyway, I'm kidding, of course.
You're probably right, but you don't have to say that on LAFC Plus. You're probably right.
I'm only jealous of your golf game. Believe me, I'm terrible. But yeah, very low key for me. Obviously, we had the game Saturday, getting back. Just. Getting back into the grind after this vacation too that we took, as most people know, if you listen to episode 17, Mario and I not traveled together, but we did travel a lot during that little off break of the international break. So I'm still trying to catch up a little bit that way. I'm feeling it a little bit. I'm getting old. So I don't know. I'm not sleeping as great. Like I get back onto, American time zones and everything, and it's just been wild. So
and we've been busy with work too, Dave, right? Oh. We got this show coming up, the Copa America show. It's called Road to Copa, and that's going to be on 710 ESPN. If you guys don't know about that, it's going to be pretty much weeknights, right? Weeknights throughout the entire tournament of Copa America on 710 ESPN. Right around 9 p.m., we're going to start the show. So basically, we're reacting to all the show, all the games that are happening.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
9 p.m. Pacific, roughly, most nights on 710 ESPN, the 710 ESPN app. It will not be a podcast. This is a radio show. Like we're going old school, Mario. Like we used to. Now it doesn't affect LAFC Plus each week. By the way, if you're listening to this or watching this, we're still doing this show. Of course, we still have our LAFC duties, which we're so pumped about after winning 6 straight. So yeah, but Road to Copa on 710 ESPN. Of course, they're a great partner with LAFC on the English radio side, and we love all that, and that'll be a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun too when you're winning, right? Let's get back to it in the sense that. Just winning and getting it done, because again, I'm not saying I was broadcasting the match feeling like we were going to lose after Orlando scored, but momentum's a real thing. No matter what the computers and the analytics guys want to tell you, momentum is a thing in sports, and Orlando had grabbed that for a moment. I think what happened to me, Mario, was LAFC just absorbed it and kept absorbing, and they really never felt like Orlando was going to win that game. It didn't look like, and it just, nobody was losing their head. Even when LAFC give up a goal, which of course has been rare lately, but there's just no head dragging, no hanging there, hanging low. They've had some poor performances early in the year that, just trying to get their legs under them a little bit. But this team believes they're going to win every time they're playing. And even that happened on Saturday, and it turned out that way, of course, but this goal from Mateusz Bogusz, wow.
Bogusz flips it up to Denis, still in the defensive zone. He's going to lead the run of Bogusz, and Denis is going to get on his horse. Bogusz, here he comes. Bogusz into the area. He's got Denis on the far side. Bogusz to the 6th. The shot and goal! Mateusz Bogusz finishes off the counterattack to perfection. It's 2-1! Oh, what a goal from Matty Bogusz, his 7th of the season, and it's a highlight reel spectacular.
There are goals that change games, right? At certain times, there are goals that change seasons, and not that LAFC's season needed changing in that sense, but there's goals that take it to another level, Mario. That's why this game was so special. So many little things, and Mateusz Bogusz, who's goal number 7 on the season now, he's just rolling. Seems like he's scoring or assisting every week. Yeah. It just, to me, something clicked right then. I knew that we were winning that game. That game was over right then, right? Orlando had thrown everything they could to try to get that 2-1 lead, and then they give up that goal. It was over, even though LAFC added another goal later. But it changed a lot to me, and just the feeling of this team, 10th win of the season. There is no limit for this team. There is no ceiling. And I'll go ahead and say it. They're playing the best in MLS right now. I don't care what any other team wants to tell me. I know RSL will scream at us after they listen to this podcast, and some of our friends over there will not like it. There's just no comparison, especially in the West. I mean, look, if Inter Miami have the best game they play of all season, good luck anybody trying to beat them, I guess, but I'm not afraid of anybody, right, Mario? This team is just too good.
Yeah, and Denis Bouanga also is on a tear right now. He has 6 goals in this run of 6 games winning streak here for LAFC, and he went to play for his national team in Gabon, and he scored there as well. He comes back to LAFC, he scores 2 goals, grabs an assist. I mean, this guy is just on fire. He's creeping back into that race for the most goals in MLS. He's sitting 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, with 13.
Yeah,
and he could be making that run for the Golden Boot again this season. So, I mean, you got Denis Bouanga cooking up every single game. You got the best defense in the entire league. Then you have Olivier Giroud coming in July. And we're at that halfway point looking like a strong contender to get back to the MLS Cup final for the 3rd straight time with Steve Cherundolo leading the charge.
That would be amazing, no doubt about it. And I don't know any reason right now, obviously a long way to go, but I don't see any reason why we don't have a great shot at that, why we shouldn't consider ourselves right in the midst of that. I think they're the best team in the West. Tip of the cap again to RSL. We'll talk a little bit more about them coming up. But, we were talking about it earlier in the season, and there was some issues of maybe questions of like, oh, how deep is this team going to be, right? Where we need some guys to step up, of course, young kids, everything. Boy, there's just nobody. As I look down on that bench now, Mario, there's just nobody that I'm like you worry that's going to come into a match. Like Steve Cherundolo has complete confidence in these guys.
Yeah.
These guys are playing well. I mean, Eddie Segura came in, gave some good minutes, really just guys who, even were previously starters, of course. Maxime Chanot comes in off the bench, been a starter his whole
Big
career
acquisition.
virtually. Yeah, I mean, Eric Dueñas is really starting to get more comfortable every time he's on the pitch. Like
each and every game, you can see that. Yep.
Yeah, and it to me, that's just been a big factor too. Is like there's just no doubt this is a deep team, and there's just no question of that anymore.
And Dave, we've been talking about how if you're going to go on these long winning streaks, you got to grind it out.
Yeah,
it's not going to look perfect. And Ryan Hollingshead, after the match, he was talking about just that. And let's listen to that here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a confidence that comes with winning games back to back to back. And so we know when you're in a moment like this, you have to keep your foot on the pedal. You have to keep going. You can't relax and think that things are going to come easily. And so especially in an atmosphere like this, you have to come and just grind out a win. And that's exactly what we did today. When you're in these moments, you have to keep going. You create your own luck. You can see today there's chances they have that maybe could go in a different game. And when you're in this moment, they're not going in. And so we have to capitalize on that. And it's exactly what we did. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it looked like, how the feel of the game was. It's 3 points. We're incredibly proud of that. And we'll put it in the score sheet and we'll go on to the next one.
Knowing how to get those 3 points just anyway, anyhow, especially on the road, collecting the full 3 points is massive. And you and I talk about that all the time. Getting road wins in MLS is big, especially if you want to do big things in that season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Inter Miami has 6 of them. FC Cincinnati has 7 of them on the road. 7 1-1 on the road. I mean, you're chasing these teams for a supporter shield. And by chasing, I mean, we're right there. We even have a couple games in hand on Inter Miami. We're even with Cincinnati, but we're right there in points close to them. So it's not like I don't mean chasing like they're so far away, but 6 wins, 7 wins on the road for those 2 teams. And by the way, they're pretty darn good at home too. So it's not like they're, so yeah, you're right. You have to keep pace that way. And here's the thing with this club right now. Yeah. Red hot, 6 wins in a row, that pace, you're going to drop some points along the way at some point, but it's not, even as Ryan said, as you said, they're not doing things like every game's not 6-0 and everything's going perfect. And, this is not duplicate. You can't duplicate this for the rest of 17 games. No, they're just grinding, playing well. Denis Bouanga can stay this hot. I mean, it's just, that's been proven. Like he can be this good, right? It's not like he's doing anything crazy where, he's going to come back down to earth. He's just having a great run. I mean, Mateusz Bogusz, he's just elevating his game. He's that young. He's 22, right? People get better
with a lot of confidence right now. And for him to score that goal in that manner, he had Denis over there on the other side, and for him to say, "I'm going to take this," and the way he hit it, wow, he's got a lot of confidence in his game right now, rightfully so.
By the way, if you watch that play, somebody goes back, if you get a chance, go back and watch the goal itself. He made the right decision.
He did.
It's not very often you say an open Denis Bouanga in the middle. Don't pass it to him because that's usually not the right decision. Let's be honest. But he made the right decision because the defender read the same thing. The defender peeled off right at the last moment thinking he was going to pass that. And a lot of guys will still make that pass because it's Denis Bouanga to my left, right?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter. He's open. Now it takes me a little time to think about it. I got to pass him the ball. And how many times do we see plays get broken up that way, or, the pass is a little, just goal doesn't happen all the time. But in this case, he made the exact right decision in a split second. And that was for him to take the shot and blast it by Stuyduhar. So to me, that's really telling. Yeah, it's a great goal. And of course, the goal is what matters, but it's the decision-making for Bogusz this season. He's taken some shots from distance and scoring goals that way, like where other people might say, well, can't you make one more pass? Oh, no, it's in the back of the net. This guy's that good, like he's making the right decisions as a 22-year-old in a team that's, in a sport where it's, lightning quick. You got to make these decisions in less than a second. Yeah, that was tremendous. Just a tremendous break. And it wasn't a breakaway. Like, he had work to do, but like he's got the speed with the ball. He and Denis, they don't slow down as they're bringing the ball up, on a break, like that kind of the, counterattacks. Just a thing of beauty. It really was. And there's only so much you can say before it gets repetitive, but I love what this team is doing now. Shout outs to guys who maybe don't show up in the stat sheet in this game, but I thought Ilya Sanchez was tremendous in this match. I really did. And I know people at Orlando are going to be like, well, we bossed this game. And, you're hearing stuff on even Oscar Pareja, the manager, said we he didn't use these words, but he was saying we were the better team essentially, or we kind of took it to them. And again, he didn't say that exactly that way, but he was kind of, referencing that and they did. Orlando played well and you still lost 3-1. Like, if we look at Orlando, Mario, is this team just done? Like, they're towards the bottom, almost the bottom of the East now, with New England having a little bit of a hot streak. Are they just done? Are they cooked?
Yeah, I would say pretty much. I agree with you, Dave. They're not scoring goals. They're not picking up wins. They're not picking up points, and they're not doing it at home. If you're not doing it at home, that's a big problem for you. And LAFC definitely took advantage there. I think definitely LAFC knew that this was a potential win, another third win for LAFC on the road, and they did exactly just that. But talking about unsung heroes, Nathan Ordaz, yes. We see him sporadically, and when he came into this match and had a huge part in this goal from Denis Bouanga.
Headed at midfield by Bouanga to Ordaz, who works around a defender. He's got Denis to his right. Ordaz keeps going. It deflects to Bouanga, edge of the 18. Denis into the area, around two defenders, around the keeper. Bouanga slots it in. Oh, what a goal! Denis! 3-1, black and gold! Bouanga split the defense like they weren't even there! Shades of Carlos Vela against San Jose back in the day!
Exactly. Good description, Dave. And yeah, Nathan, he did all the hard work in that one. I mean, Bouanga did as well, dribbling through the defense. But yeah, Nathan Ordaz, props to you for doing all the hard work on that one.
Yeah, especially for a guy who's not getting a lot of minutes lately. I hadn't played in like 4 straight MLS games. He's still playing, they'll give him some minutes in MLS Next Pro with LAFC 2 if they can. It's just the nature of the team, right? We talked about it. They're a deep team. He's not going to get a ton of minutes right now, but he makes the most of it coming off there in the heat, in the humidity. The defense is wearing down. Put a guy like Ordaz in there to just be a complete pain in the neck against you because he just never stops. And it just takes that one little play. And then you have Denis Bouanga, who's never coming out, right? So Denis never gets tired. You have Ordaz, who's not tired. You have Denis, who never gets tired, seemingly. They're going to cause problems, and they did. Yeah, kudos to him. Another assist for Nathan Ordaz, and he deserved it. And, that wasn't the only play he made in the sense. He was a pain in the neck the minute he stepped on the pitch for Orlando in that situation. It was brilliant. Love the win. I'm not ready to say Orlando is done, Mario. Okay. They're only 3 points out of a playoff spot. I know that, they've been so bad at home record-wise that I think if they just played like that at home against everybody else, easier said than done. They're going to get some points. They have talent. I mean, this is a team that should not be this bad. Now, what does that mean for maybe Oscar Pereja going forward or the fans or what? He's a good coach. This is a good, talented team. I think they got to find a way to get Ojeda more minutes. The guy who came in and scored against LAFC. There's just some kind of disconnect there. He's way too good of a player to be coming off the bench so often. He's a great
player. Good call by you, Dave. And he takes those corners. Great corner kicks as really. Well. He scored the goal. I mean, that's a great call by you, Dave.
He knows where he needs to be. He knows how to play. He knows maybe he hasn't fit in perfectly with Luis Muriel. I don't know if that signing was exactly what they needed for the way they want to play. Great player, but again, people forget. I mean, I know a lot of soccer fans know this, but it's all about fit too. Just taking a great player and putting him into a team doesn't always work. True. We've seen it at LAFC, like with talented kids and talented players. Yeah. Maybe it just wasn't the right fit. So, maybe they got to fix that kind of issue, if you will. I still am not giving up on Orlando making the playoffs, but I can't fault you for feeling that way because it doesn't look good, but the East is tight. And it brings us to around the rest of MLS, Mario. It's a topic I want to talk about. We're actually going to start with this one, if you don't mind. Let's reverse our little order here. East versus West. And it's always a topic that people talk about in MLS because, the conferences are huge. There's a lot of teams in MLS compared to most soccer leagues. You got 14 in the West, 15 teams in the East. For so long, not for so long, but it seemed like it was always just lately like East is better. Okay. On paper, in terms of head-to-head, you can't really argue, actually. This year, the East is 16, 12, and 17. Now, that's 16 wins, 12 losses, 17 draws. But LAFC is 3 wins and a draw in their 4 games against the East. So if you take LAFC out of the West, the rest of the West is just 9, 16, and 16.
Wow.
The East, so you take away LAFC out of that, the East is beating up the West again. And yet, I don't know. I mean, LAFC is so strong. RSL, nobody's beating them right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Even the LA Galaxy, is it so much that the East is better, Mario? How do you feel about this now, East versus West kind of thing?
I was looking at both sides the other day too, and it seems like the East is starting to crunch up now. It seems like the standings are starting to crunch up, but on the West, you're seeing the good teams starting to separate from the lower teams, right?
True. Yeah,
that's what I've been noticing so far. But that's a great stat about LAFC going up against Eastern Conference teams. Very interesting. It says a lot about LAFC.
Now they do have Columbus and Cincinnati as the 2 final ones. Those are going to be obviously very tough games. They'll have Columbus back in LA coming up in July.
Yeah.
They'll go to Cincinnati late in the season, September.
Tough one.
So, those are going to be tricky games. Those are the final 2 out of the 6 that LAFC will play against the East. But right now, Nashville, you pounded them, didn't give up a goal against Atlanta. You beat Orlando. You drew against a tough Red Bulls team, albeit at home. That was a tough game. So the Red Bulls deserve credit for that. But that's a good team in the East, the Red Bulls. So I think
it is.
You're right. It's the separation's getting there. Not so much for the bottom of the East because New England's hot. As bad as they've been, they've got 3 wins in a row now. They're all of a sudden only 4 points out of a playoff spot when everybody was basically saying they're the worst, and they're dead. There's some bad teams in the West. And I think that you're right about that. Like San Jose and Sporting Kansas City, those are bad teams. Let's face it. Now, one of them
San Jose team is a team that LAFC needs to get payback on.
We got 2 opportunities. Too. Yeah, 2 chances.
The next one's coming up at BMO Stadium. So
that's right.
That one's going to be a tough one.
2 opportunities against San Jose. Look, San Jose and Sporting Kansas City, two worst teams in the league. We got 1 point from 4 or from a possible 6 right now from those 2, right?
Yep.
We got outscored 3-1 against both those teams. Of course, we drew Sporting Kansas City 0-0 earlier in the season, but that was at home. So, or was that at home? I beg your pardon. That might have been a road match, but
it was at home.
Yeah, it was. So,
I
mean, it was early in the season, and LAFC were in a little stretch there. But I mean, those are the 2 worst teams in the league, record-wise. LAFC is 0-1-1, 1 point from 6. So that's just how wacky MLS can be, of course. But I find it fascinating the East versus West thing, just because it's a matter of look. A lot of these teams, they're going to make the playoffs, but they don't really have much of a shot. Let's face it. So I like to look at the top of each conference, and that's where really I think LAFC coming on so strong, RSL being unbeaten since seems like 2021. That they're a good team, they're a great team right now. That's going to be pretty tough. And even the Galaxy, like for all the issues, maybe drawing a lot of games, they only have 3 losses in 18 matches. They're not easy to beat. So I find the West, maybe the top of the West is equal to the top of the East, certainly. Speaking of the top of the East, previously, Philadelphia Union. I'm not even going to ask you the question, Mario. I'm going to say they're dust, man. They are done. What happened over the weekend? Holy cow.
Yeah, that was a big win for Miami, of course, after the 2 red cards. They're playing without Messi. They're playing without Suarez. They're on the road. And much respect for Tata Martino for pulling that off. But I'm not too impressed with that win because it says a lot more about Philadelphia Union this season.
Yeah.
The Union just playing, just awful this season. They're up by, 2 men, and they still let a breakaway go, and it's 1v1. And you're up by 2 men. How does that happen for the game winner? And it's just a mess over there. Philadelphia just might be the biggest shock of the season so far for me because it's a mess over there, Dave.
I do agree. They're in a playoff spot, only a point, though, away from dropping out of the playoffs, if you will. A team, I'm looking at 1-5-3 at home. That is just incomprehensible. They haven't been beaten on the road, ironically, Philadelphia. 5 draws from 8 matches, but they haven't lost on the road. They can't win at home. How in the world do you expect to be a good team? I mean, if they were just average at home, they'd be all climbing the table, with that road record. But wow, that is just disturbing. Like it's so bad at home.
And Dave, it's not going to get any better anytime soon because, their best player, Julian Carranza, he looks to be heading out, right, to the Dutch League. So let's wait till you see Philadelphia Union without him as well. It's not going to get any better anytime soon for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoff. A lot of teams make the playoffs in MLS. They might have a little stretch. They'll maybe turn it around a little bit. They're cooked as one of the best teams. There's no chance that you cannot up 2 men at home against a team that, is missing so many great players. It's not as though it was like they're down 2 men, but Messi scored 2 goals late or some magic craziness he pulled off or something, right? A couple of free kicks, okay, it's Lionel Messi. He was, they don't have him. They are down 2 men. That should have been a 5-1 win. What are you doing? What are you doing? And that just got to be so disappointing for the fans. Big win for Columbus on Friday night, by the way. Just throw that in against, against New York. Red card against NYCFC certainly changed that game, but Columbus still takes advantage. That's a team that only has 2 losses in MLS play this year. Granted, they've played a few less games because of CONCACAF Champions League, or Champions Cup, but another team, gonna climbing the table, no doubt about it.
Did you see Cucho's PK goal after he hit that goal? He did the batter up and he did the home run and he did the look, kind of like how Carlos did when they played at Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium, yes.
I love that.
That was a great Carlos Vela goal back then too. Really well taken. And
I saw a video of
right. That was our first couple games. I mean, it was early in our history. Yeah,
memorable one.
Yeah, absolutely. That was.
I also saw a video of Columbus Crews player Marino Inestrosa. This was on ESPN FC. They showed him walking into the stadium. Before the match, how the players go and check out the grass in the field. He's walking in prior to the match. And he's just scratching his head and he's trying to figure out the dimensions of the field. And he's like, what is going on?
Yeah,
not only hilarious.
Yeah, it's a good point though. It's not only is the field small, it's tight. Yeah. It's a little smaller. It's at a weird angle because of the baseball field, right?
The seat configuration can kind of throw you off. I mean. You're like,
of course,
what is going on here?
Normal. Yeah, the field is obviously normally done, but the way it sits in the stadium is weird. It looks off. It looks like when you're a kid and your backyard didn't fit a perfect soccer pitch, and one end it's like 80 feet wide, and then you go down to your other, closer to your house, and it's 40 feet wide, and you're still playing on it. That's how it looks to the eye.
What is this? Is this a soccer pitch or is this a wiffle ball park? What is this?
Well, I don't disagree with Inestrosa, man. It's a weird spot. NYCFC, as soon as they move into that new stadium, though, look out, right? That's a whole different, that's a whole different beast.
That's going to be a game changer for that entire club for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of game changers, RSL, they get a draw on the road, 0-0, which is actually becoming a little bit, it's becoming a little bit of a pattern on the road. Now, again, at home, and they're not losing. I think they've literally played 20 games in a row almost that they haven't lost. Not literally, of course, but just 2 losses on the season. But they are drawing on the road more and more. So 3-1-6 on the road. Again,
you don't want to fall into those draws all the time. You don't want to get too many draws because you're dropping.
It is losing 2 points. I don't care what anyone says, right? I know on the road sometimes it's a good result, but to be shut out at Montreal on the road, again, not a bad result in and of itself, right? You're not
when you got LAFC on your heels, you better watch out with those draws.
That's a great point. Montreal had been struggling. It's probably a game RSL feels like you got to go get a win, even though it's on the road, and you get shut out. I mean, my question on our little rundown was RSL might not lose again ever, but will they ever win again? Now, again, they've had plenty of wins lately, 8-0-6 in their last 14 MLS games, right? I mean, that's pretty darn good. But is there something to this, Mario? I mean, RSL's a great team.
They're a great team, Dave, and they got Chicho, who's red hot. They'll start picking it up and start getting those wins again. But yeah, like 14 games without a loss is very impressive. But it's not impressive as you think, just because there's so many draws mixed in there. But I think they'll pick it up and start picking up the wins with Chicho leading the charge.
Sure. I don't disagree. I think there was one year, it was very early in I think it might have been the first season. LAFC had like 1 loss at home, but it was like 7 draws. Yeah. So it kind of, it was a great record, 9-1-7. Like you only lost 1 game, but you did drop some points at the end, towards the end of the year. Those
1 points don't add up too quickly. They don't add up very much.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be careful when a team's red hot behind you. No matter how good you're playing, if you start drawing a lot of games and LAFC 6-0 in their last 6, you're losing. You're losing ground. I mean, the black and gold points per game are better than RSL. That just goes to show you how dangerous it can be to kind of drop points on the road, even if you're on the road, getting too many draws. But taking nothing away from RSL as a team. Where are you at with the rest of this West, Mario? You talked about the East kind of separating. Is that how you feel about LAFC now? Are we pulling away from the rest of the West here?
LAFC looked to be pulling away, Dave. Like I said earlier, playing with that defense. Nobody can get through to that defense, not conceding any goals. And then you got Bawanga, and then you got Bogusz, and then you got Giroud coming in. It seems like LAFC is going to start to make that push. The only thing is you want to make sure that you're pushing at the right moment as well. So if you can keep that push going from now, which is the midway point of the season, all the way to the very end, that's when you got something going. Now, there's going to be some dips, of course, but hopefully they can hold it together to get towards the top of the West, hopefully get the top seed in the West, maybe even Supporter Shield, because we know that home field is definitely massive in the playoffs and even in the MLS Cup. So let's see how far they could take it. I would say push for that Supporter Shield so you can get that MLS Cup at home at BMO Stadium. Yeah,
we are exactly midway through the season for LAFC. And a reminder, as Mario's talking about home field, the first tiebreaker in MLS is not goal difference, it's wins. And LAFC have the most wins now in the Western Conference with 10. RSL on 9, certainly having a great season, but nobody else has more than 8. So, that's the first tiebreaker, not goal difference. So, and the goal difference is great for LAFC. Don't get me wrong. We're not giving up a lot of goals, but wins. Just win and get as many as you can. So, good point there. That game against Orlando, by the way, if you didn't hear it while we were broadcasting, that began a 46-day stretch for LAFC where they'll play 12 games. So that's a lot coming up. This is going to be a very telling stretch. Now, there's the U.S. Open Cup is one of those. Leagues Cup's a couple of those right in late July. And, maybe there'll be more games coming. Hopefully they get into the knockout stage and do well. But so the next 46 days, beginning with that Orlando game a few days ago, 12 games. That's going to tell us a lot. 9 of them are in MLS over that stretch. So they're going to be very busy, no doubt about it. And that continues on Wednesday. Coming up at Orlando, or at Austin. This little mini 2-game road trip wraps up there. The teams didn't come back to LA. They're actually in, getting ready for Austin on the road. And airtime for that pregame, by the way, on the ESPN LA app is 5 p.m. Pacific. It'll be a 5:30 kickoff, Mario. I'm excited for that one. A winnable game. Austin always gives us a little bit of trouble in Austin. We're going to get the best from them like we do every team, but very winnable game. And I think it's one where LAFC is going to come in and give them a good performance.
Yeah, Austin FC is coming off of that loss over there in that high altitude in Colorado.
Yeah,
over
you
the
mentioned
weekend.
that. Great point. Great point.
It's going to be short rest for them, just like LAFC. Not much time to prepare for LAFC, which is the hottest team in MLS. So they have their work cut out for them over there in Austin, even though they're playing at Q2 Stadium at home. But they've conceded 9 goals, Dave, in their last 3 matches. So defensively struggling a little bit, but they'll be at home. So they're going to try to, come up for this game. But the green and black against the black and gold. So we'll see.
Yeah, they had just 1 shot on goal in that game in Colorado.
Ouch.
Colorado's very good. Actually, pretty decent team. They've come a long way in the last 18 months. But, yeah, you're not going to win a lot of games with 1 shot on goal. That's going to be trouble. Hopefully that'll be continuing on Wednesday. Great stuff as always, Mario. Wrap up this LAFC Plus episode number 18. Always good to talk to you, man. Final thoughts. You take us out, brother.
Let's go, black and gold. Let's keep the winning streak going in Austin FC and get back to BMO Stadium and get another win. Keep it going. Let's go, guys.